Today, I'm going to show you guys how you can make your very own Groot helmet. Hello everyone and welcome back to PropWay. So today I have a very cool and very simple project. I am building Groot's head from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And it'll specifically be young adult Groot that we see in Volume 3. I really like the design of it and I think it'll look really cool in kind of helmet form. And this tutorial video will be a little different because I'm going to be building it kind of live in front of you guys. So you're going to hear kind of my live commentary without, me doing a voiceover like I normally do. And before we get started, big thank you to FlexiSpot for sponsoring today's video. As you can see, I'm currently using their standing desk for this build, and I'll show you guys a little bit more about that later. So without further ado, let's get started. So for the main build of the helmet, I am just going to be using one sheet of 8mm thick foam. We're going to be using some contact cement as usual, an X-Acto knife, and later on we'll be using a heat gun and then just some paint. So with Groot's head, basically, the way I see it, it's just a big cylinder. I'm going to just take this and we're going to glue it into kind of a cylinder shape like this. And basically, to make it a helmet, we're just going to slide it over just like that. I'm going to cut the edges to be straight and maybe a little bit angled inward. So as you can see, we have kind of a rectangle with very slight angles on the outside. Now before we glue the cylinder permanently shut, I'm going to use some of this masking tape to kind of temporarily hold it. We have a cylinder and there is a slight kind of outward angle, which is exactly what we want. Let's see if this fits over my head. And it does. Okay, so now that we know the cylinder shape is good, I'm going to take some of this contact cement and we're going to glue this piece together. Now the fumes of the contact cement can be a little strong, so I like to wear a mask while I'm using it. You want to get a little bit of it and you're going to spread it right onto the first edge that you're going to connect. So we're going to apply it right to this first edge. And once you've applied it on the first edge, we are going to apply it again on the connecting edge. You want it to be a nice kind of thin layer. You don't want it to be soaking in contact cement. So now that we have it applied to both edges, we can let that sit for maybe a minute. And once that's had time to dry up a little bit, it'll feel a little bit tacky when you touch it. It won't be super wet. And that is the time that you want to connect the two pieces together. So let's take a minute and let that dry, and then we'll connect them. I think that's going to work well for us. So now moving on, I'm going to kind of draw out the shape of the jaw first, as well as the top of the head. And then we'll have kind of an overall final shape of his head, and then we can draw in the eyes and mouth. So let's start off with the jaw. So as you can see here, I have my iPad just as reference photos, so I'm going to be going off of this when I'm sketching out all of the kind of facial features. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see those lines that I drew there. These lines right here are going to be his jaw, so I'm going to cut that out and then we'll keep going. I'm just going to use scissors, and again, even if it's rough, it'll look perfect for Groot. I think my computer screen at the back is also cutting in and out, so I apologize if that's bothering you. We have a bit of a jawline to this helmet now. I'm happy with that. Okay, so now I'm going to cut out kind of the details on the top of the helmet. Okay, so now we have those upper details of the head drawn out, and I think we are ready to cut those out. And I don't know how many times I'm going to say this, but again, being imperfect here is going to work out in our favor. You don't have to spend so much time making sure every cut is super clean. Groot is very rough, so it'll look more screen accurate the more rough that we are. And there it is. I think that looks great. I am very happy with how that looks. So let's take a quick break and talk about this standing desk from FlexiSpot. Now that I've been working from home, along with many other people around the world, I've realized that having a good desk is such a valuable tool. And this Pro Plus standing desk E7 is absolutely perfect for what I need. It's a beautiful, modern design with an elegant wooden tabletop and a super stable metal frame. Plus, you can get all these additional accessories like this monitor stand, under desk drawer, power strip, even an arm to mount dual monitors. which I'll save for when I actually have 2 monitors. And the coolest part? Is it the motorized lifting? Exactly, the motorized lifting. With the push of a button, you can lift it from the sitting position to standing position in seconds. Plus, it can hold up to 355 pounds on it, so you don't have to worry about adding your computer, monitors, books, whatever. This desk can handle it. For my workshop, I like to have one area for building things and getting things dirty, and another area to keep clean for any video editing, research, or really any other computer work. Using the exclusive link in the description below, you can get a Pro Plus standing desk today for an affordable price, a 30-day risk-free return policy, 15-year warranty. Don't forget affordable. And an affordable price, there's really no reason not to try it. So go check out FlexiSpot today. And now let's get back to the Groot helmet. Okay, so now that the main shape is cut out, we can go back to drawing the eyes and the mouth. Basically, I'm going to use this as the reference photo. He's so cool. So there is what I have for the mouth right now. Very, very simple to sketch out. So I'd say the eyes are roughly a little lower than halfway from the top to the bottom of the helmet. I wonder if that eye is a little too big. It might be a little too big. Okay, so here is the mouth and the eyes of this Groot mask. He kind of has this shape of a nose right along the inside of his eyes. So I don't want to exclude that, and I will show you exactly how we're going to get that shape. So you can see I have those lines right there drawn in. Okay, as you can see, my helmet is starting to get a little messy there, but you can see that I kind of have 2 eyes drawn out, and we're going to go with the lower one. So I'm going to start off with cutting out the eyes first, and I'm going to do that with an X-Acto knife. I think that looks really good so far. So let's try putting this on and see where the eyes line up. So I can actually see perfectly going out in an angle, but I can't even see the camera right now. So if you want to see, you're going to have to kind of turn your head a little bit, which is not a big deal. So now the next step, what I'm going to do is those 2 lines there, I'm going to cut slits into that right now. So you can see here that I've cut the slits out, and then we're going to push this eye section inwards a little bit. And as you can see, that nose kind of comes out a little bit. So I'm going to take a hot glue gun and glue that from the back side. And while the glue gun is warming up, I'm going to cut out the mouth shape right now. And there is the smiling Groot head so far. Basically, that nose bridge was pushed out a little bit, and from the inside, I just glued those seams on the inside to make sure it holds. So continuing on, I'm gonna do a little detailing around the eyes. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this X-Acto knife and I'm gonna kind of angle the eyelids in a little bit, because as you can see, the eyes were just cut out pretty much straight flat. I'll give you guys a close-up look of exactly what I'm doing. So with the X-Acto knife, I'm just gonna take the blade and start cutting, like I said, inwards, right around the eye. And there's what you should have at this point. Okay, so after test fitting the helmet, it seems just a little bit too cylindrical to me, obviously because we made a cylinder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of sketch out a little bit of a jaw here and make a cut and glue it together. And it should help give the helmet a little bit more of a shape to it. I drew in that little outline right there on both sides. So I want to cut that out. Okay, so as you can see, I cut out these little slits right there. So basically when I combine these 2 pieces and glue them together like that, at certain angles it kind of angles inwards, which in my opinion might be a very small detail, but I think it adds a lot and makes it look a little bit more natural and doesn't have that kind of, you know, box shape of a cylinder. So I do a little bit of a combine it completely flush. That front side kind of sticks out just a little bit, maybe about halfway. And now you can see there is just a little bit more shape to that jaw. I think it makes a big difference, and I think it looks much better now. Okay, so as far as building the main structure of the helmet, that's really it, guys. So I have my Dremel here. Attached to it is a pretty standard sanding bit. And now we're just gonna go to town around the eyes and the lips, and cut also around that kind of nose bridge. Now we're actually going to draw in all of the line details along the helmet to make it look like an actual tree bark. So this part might be kind of tedious, but you can kind of just freehand draw lines along the entire piece and not really have to be very neat about it. So let's go ahead and draw some lines. So you can see he kind of has this section right around his eyes right there. You really don't need to even sketch out the lines, because all we're doing is we're taking an X-Acto knife and we are just gonna score all of those lines. We're not cutting all the way through, we're scoring it, meaning we're only going in about halfway. And because a lot of it is kind of just random lines, you can just go ahead and score without even sketching out the lines. And the deeper you cut, the more that line is gonna show up after you heat it. And the more shallow you cut, the less that line's gonna show up. So you can play around with randomly doing deep cuts, you know, shallow cuts. The more random it is, the better. So now that all of our lines have been scored, we are gonna take our heat gun and we are gonna heat up the entire helmet until those lines start to open up. I usually kind of just do vertical lines all around until I come back around. So you can see here how a lot of those detail lines started to open up, especially, you know, deep ones like that. And I even started to kind of do that whole burning part. So that helps out the look a little bit. You don't want to do too much of those because then it might start just look a little messy. But yeah, those lines opening up are exactly what we want. Okay, so now that we've heated up all of those lines and they've opened up and now start to look like a real tree bark, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start heating up specific parts of it and kind of form them into a shape that I like. So for example, I'm gonna heat up around the eyes, and if you look at some of the reference photos, the area around the eyes kind of dip inwards a little bit, kind of like a, you know, our human eye socket. So basically I'm gonna heat it up and then just use my hands to force that inwards and to hopefully give it a nice, you know, natural shape to it. So I've heated it up and now you'll feel the foam get a little bit softer, and now we're just gonna use our hands to kind of press that and form that into a shape that we like. I don't know if you can really tell by the video, but that eye socket is starting to kind of cave in a little bit, and I think that really adds a lot to the look of it. We're going to want to do this to a few other parts on the helmet. For example, they're kind of right in between the eyes, right above the nose, that dips in a little bit, so we're going to heat that up and we're going to, you know, again, work that foam to kind of give it that shape. And really, I think we're just about done with all of the foam work, and we can now go on to painting. So let's paint. Before we paint, let's actually put it on and see if it still looks okay. I think that looks great. Honestly, I'm really happy with how that shape turned out, and I think it looks really good. Because it's a cylinder, it's tending to kind of slide too far down, so you can always maybe add a foam strip or some kind of strap on top so that it rests right on the top of your head. So of course my microphone cuts out at this point, so now I have to do a voiceover. But here I'm just mixing together some dark brown and kind of a light beige acrylic paint to get this light brown color like this. And this is going to be our base color for painting Groot. And now I just use a foam brush to brush it on all over the entire helmet. And here's what I have up to this point. That is the main base color that I'm going to use, and I'm really happy with that. So now I'm going to go ahead and mix some colors to get the light green kind of moss on the top of his head. So I'm going to use some of this green and yellow and white paint to get a nice light green color. For brushes, I'm just using this foam paint brush. I'm going to dab it on, and that's going to give it a nice kind of random look to it. So now that all of the paint is done on the helmet, the last thing we need to do here is put in the eyes. So for this, I have these old lenses from an old pair of sunglasses that I took out. So we're just going to glue these in right behind the eye holes like that. But before we glue those in, if you notice on the reference photos, Groot kind of has a gold ring on his eyeballs. So I'm going to use this gold tint that I have, which is just a sheet that you can kind of peel off and stick on. I'm going to cut out that ring, place them on the glasses, and then glue it in. So you can see here I cut out this gold ring right there. So I'm just going to peel it off and stick it right onto the lens right now. And that's what you should have after that gold gets kind of stuck onto that lens. And once you put that behind the eye, then you have Groot's eye like this, and you can see there's just a little bit of extra detail there, which makes it look more like an eyeball as opposed to just a black lens. And once you have the lenses glued in, you should have a Groot helmet that looks like this. Thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial. I had so much fun building this helmet. It is a very simple build, and I'm sure you guys are gonna have so much fun trying it out. If you do build one and post a photo or video of it on Instagram or TikTok, feel free to tag me at PropWay, and I'd love to see and share your work. As always, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more tutorials. Thank you, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.